Hello everyone, and welcome whether you're tuning in from your morning commute, a quiet evening walk, or just stealing a few minutes of peace in a noisy world. I'm truly grateful you're here. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever had a great day, only to watch it unravel because of one rude comment, one careless action, one unexpected setback? Have you ever felt like someone else's words had the power to wreck your mood, hijack your peace, and linger in your mind long after the moment passed? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone in this episode. This journey we're about to take together is made for you. Because today, we're diving deep into a life-changing idea. You can master your emotions. You can stop letting people get under your skin. You can protect your peace without becoming cold. You can respond to life with clarity and calm, instead of reacting with anger and regret. In this special podcast, I'm going to walk you through 10 powerful, practical, and deeply stoic lessons that will teach you how to never get angry or bothered by anyone ever again. This isn't about suppressing how you feel or pretending you don't care. It's about rising above. It's about becoming unshakable. It's about building the kind of strength that makes you immune to drama, disrespect, and disappointment, because your emotions no longer depend on anyone else's behavior. Here's what you'll learn: how to take back control of your reactions, why expectations ruin relationships, and how to release them, the freedom that comes when you stop needing to be right, how to stop letting other people's words define your worth, how to protect your energy by setting strong, compassionate boundaries, how to detach from the opinions of others and finally feel free, why silence, not anger, is your most powerful response, how gratitude can dissolve even the deepest frustration, how to turn criticism into your greatest teacher, and finally, the beautiful art of letting go, and why it's the key to lasting peace. So whether you're tired of reacting, emotionally exhausted, or just craving a calmer, stronger version of yourself, this episode is your starting point. Stick with me all the way through, because by the end, you'll have a new lens to see your life with, and a new level of peace no one can take from you. Let's begin. Part 1. Your reactions are your choice. Have you ever had one of those moments when a single comment, a passing insult, or an inconsiderate action had the power to derail your entire day? You started your morning just fine, maybe with coffee in hand, plans in place, and a lightness in your step. But then, someone cut you off in traffic, or a coworker dismissed your idea without a second thought. And just like that, your peace was gone, your mood shifted, your energy tanked. But here's the truth, one that might shake you a little. No one, absolutely no one, has the power to control your emotions unless you hand it to them. And that's what we're going to talk about today. How to stop surrendering your power to others and start reclaiming the calm, centered strength that has always lived within you. Because life will never stop throwing things your way. Rude people, unfair treatment, unexpected chaos, they're all part of the human experience. But your reaction? That is yours, entirely, unapologetically. And what if you could learn to walk through even the most irritating moments without getting rattled? Without letting them claim one more second of your peace? Picture this. You're sitting on a park bench, birds chirping, sun warming your skin, when a stranger passing by says something rude, completely unprovoked. In a split second, your serenity is tested. You feel anger bubbling up. But here's where your power lives, not in controlling what others say or do, but in mastering what you choose to feel, say, or think next. Most people hand their emotional control over to others without even realizing it. But what if you didn't? What if you paused, even just for a breath, and chose differently? Think about noise-canceling headphones. When you wear them in a loud, chaotic city, the sirens, shouts, and horns don't vanish, but they don't reach you the same way. That's what emotional mastery feels like. The world doesn't go silent, but it stops getting inside. And it all starts with understanding that between every stimulus and response, there is a sacred space, a pause, and inside that pause is your freedom, your growth, your strength, your choice. Let's say your coworker mocks your idea during a meeting. Most people would lash out or stew in resentment all day. But you pause, you breathe, you step into that tiny space between stimulus and reaction and ask yourself, is this about me, or is it about them? Their stress, their ego, their insecurity? Just like that, you take back the reins. You stay grounded. That moment becomes a ripple on the surface of your day instead of a storm that floods it. Anger, frustration, and hurt, they're natural. You don't have to silence them or pretend they don't exist. But you also don't have to become them. And that distinction is everything. You can feel the burn of a flame without walking straight into the fire. Here's a simple 3-step strategy that helps anchor this practice into your life. First, pause and identify. When something triggers you, don't react. Just name it. I feel irritated. I feel dismissed. Labeling emotions breaks their grip. Second, reflect. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Is it truly about what happened? Or is it your interpretation? Your story about it, that's fueling the fire? Third, choose. Choose a response that serves your peace. That honors your long-term values, not the short-term satisfaction of a reaction. Let your next move come from wisdom, not woundedness. Every single day, you are offered hundreds of chances to choose again. Someone is rude? That's their story. Someone ignores you? That's their habit. Someone lashes out? That's their pain. But how you respond, that's your legacy. That's your power. Imagine what your life would feel like if no one else's words or behavior could pull you off balance. If the same triggers that used to ignite your anger now rolled off you like rain on stone. That's not numbness. That's not indifference. That's maturity. That's strength. So the next time someone pushes your buttons, pause and remember, they are not in control of your peace unless you hand them the keys. And you don't owe that to anyone. In fact, you owe it to yourself to keep those keys close and protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. You don't need to react to prove your worth. You don't need to match their chaos with chaos of your own. You can let their storm pass while you remain still, centered, and unshaken. And when you learn to master this art, when you realize that your reactions are your choice, you unlock something so rare, so powerful, it changes the entire trajectory of your life. You stop living at the mercy of other people's moods, and start living on your terms. That's the beginning of emotional freedom. And that's the foundation for everything else we'll build together in this podcast journey. Part 2. Stop expecting people to behave like you. Let's be honest, one of the quickest ways to feel hurt, frustrated, or disappointed is to hold someone else to a standard they never agreed to. Maybe you've been there, offering your time, your heart, your loyalty, expecting the same in return. And then, silence, or worse, betrayal. It stings, because deep down, you thought, if I were in their shoes, I would have done it differently. That one sentence? It's the root of so much of our emotional pain. I would have never treated them that way. But here's the hard truth, people aren't you. They don't see the world through your eyes. They haven't lived your experiences. And they're not guided by your values. Expecting others to act exactly like you is like yelling at the sky because it rained on your birthday. It changes nothing, and it only leaves you soaked in frustration. Everyone is living a different story. Some were raised with kindness, others with chaos. Some value honesty, others value self-preservation. Some listen to understand, and others just wait for their turn to speak. Their actions, or their silence, aren't always personal. They're simply reflecting their own reality. And when you demand that their behavior match yours, you start playing a game you can never win. Think of it like this. Each person is walking a path shaped by their own struggles, their own fears, their own blueprint for survival. When someone lets you down, it's not always about you. It's often about the lens they see life through. Trying to change them, fix them, or make them meet your unspoken expectations only drains your energy and leaves you feeling powerless. So what can you do instead? You shift your focus. You move from control to clarity, from expectation to observation. Instead of demanding others behave a certain way, you choose to accept them as they are, while protecting your own peace in the process. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you work with someone who constantly interrupts you during meetings. You could stew in resentment, replay every interaction, try to subtly teach them a lesson, or you could recognize this. Their behavior has nothing to do with me. It's a habit, not a personal attack. I don't need to internalize their rudeness. That choice liberates you. It puts the power back in your hands. Here's a practical mindset shift that will change your life. I release the need for people to meet my expectations. I give myself permission to accept what is, not what I hoped it would be. Try this 3-part practice the next time someone disappoints you. 1. Acknowledge your assumptions. Ask yourself, what was I expecting them to do? And why? Often, we build entire emotional storms on the foundation of silent assumptions. 2. Challenge those expectations. Is it fair to expect someone else to behave like you? Are you setting yourself up for pain by assuming they'll understand your standards without ever communicating them? 3. Choose peace. Let go of the urge to control their behavior and focus instead on your response. That's where your power has always been. There's a powerful quote that says, "Expectations are the root of all suffering." And it's true. The moment you stop expecting others to mirror you, to validate you, or to act according to your emotional script, something incredible happens. You start feeling lighter, less reactive, more grounded. That doesn't mean you tolerate toxic behavior. It doesn't mean you abandon your standards. It simply means you stop handing people the power to disrupt your inner world every time they fail to meet them. When someone you care about forgets your birthday, doesn't return a favor, or speaks harshly, remember, they're acting from their nature, not yours, and your peace is too valuable to be tied to the inconsistency of someone else's character. You were never meant to carry the emotional weight of trying to make people behave a certain way. You were meant to move through the world with clarity, grace, and emotional freedom. The next time someone disappoints you, pause, breathe, and whisper to yourself, "That's them, not me. I get to choose how I move forward." And when you do that enough times, when you stop trying to make the world behave like you would, you start becoming something rare, something unshakable. Because peace, real peace, doesn't come from others doing what you expect. It comes from you choosing how to live, regardless of what they do. Part 3. Let go of the need to always be right. Have you ever caught yourself in a conversation, not listening to understand, but waiting for your turn to prove you're right? Maybe it started as a light disagreement, but somewhere along the way, it turned into a battlefield of words. Your heart raced, your voice sharpened, and suddenly, winning the argument felt more important than the person in front of you. We've all been there, and if we're being honest, it's not about the topic, it's about the ego. It's about the deep-rooted fear that being wrong somehow means being less. But here's the thing. Needing to always be right is like dragging around a heavy chain you think is armor. You think it protects your identity, your intelligence, your place in the world, but in reality, it's weighing you down, tightening your jaw, making your relationships tense, and stealing your peace. And for what? A momentary sense of superiority? The truth is, letting go of the need to be right doesn't make you weaker, it makes you wiser. It means you've stopped needing validation to feel secure. It means you've learned that peace is worth more than pride. Next time you feel that fire rising in your chest during an argument, ask yourself this: what's my goal here? Am I trying to connect? Or am I trying to conquer? Because you can't do both at the same time. If you always need to win, you'll keep losing moments that matter, moments of softness, of understanding, of grace. Let's reframe it this way. Would you rather be right, or be at peace? Imagine someone accuses you of something unfair. Your first instinct might be to jump in, to correct them, to defend yourself aggressively. But what if you didn't? What if you paused, took a breath, and said, "I see where you're coming from. Let's talk about it later." That one pause can save you hours of stress and a flood of regret. Because here's the secret: being calm in a moment of tension, that's real power. That's self-mastery. Sometimes, people argue not to find truth, but to be heard. If you can offer listening instead of resistance, you might just give them what they truly needed all along. And if they're just looking for a fight, your refusal to engage becomes your shield. Here's a 3-step practice to help let go of the urge to always be right. 1. Pause before you respond. Ask yourself, is this really worth my peace? Will being right here change anything important? If the answer is no, choose stillness over struggle. 2. Seek to understand. Instead of building a counterpoint, ask questions. Let curiosity take the place of judgment. Sometimes understanding someone doesn't mean agreeing. It just means being present enough to care. 3. Choose your battles. Not every hill is worth dying on. Save your energy for what truly matters, your values, your well-being, your growth, not petty power plays. There's a quote I love that says, "He who is attached to his views will never grow." That's the crux of it. When you let go of your attachment to being right, you open yourself to becoming better. You stop defending your old self and start stepping into your wiser self. Let me ask you this, when you reflect on your life, will you remember the arguments you won, or the relationships you nurtured? Will you be proud of how often you proved someone wrong, or how often you stayed grounded in truth, without needing applause? Because in the end, your value isn't tied to winning debates. It's tied to how you carry yourself when your beliefs are challenged. It's in the way you protect your energy without needing to dominate. It's in how you prioritize growth over ego, peace over pride. The next time someone pushes you to prove your point, breathe deep and remember, being calm is stronger than being right. And when you live from that place, when you stop chasing validation and start choosing inner stillness, the world can argue all it wants, and you'll still sleep in peace. Part 4. Stop letting others' words define your worth. There's a moment we've all experienced, when you share something that matters to you. Maybe it's an idea, a dream, a piece of your truth. You put it out there with vulnerability, with hope, and then someone carelessly cuts it down. A sarcastic comment, a raised eyebrow, a dismissive laugh, and suddenly, what felt like confidence crumbles. Just like that. Why does it sting so much? Because for a moment, we let their words rewrite our worth. But here's a truth that can change your life. Your value isn't a vote. It's not a poll. It's not a performance for anyone else to score. Your worth is not up for discussion, negotiation, or approval. Not today, not ever. When you build your self-esteem on someone else's opinions, you give them power they didn't earn and don't deserve. You let their passing thoughts become your permanent identity. And that's a dangerous game. Because people's words are shaped by their moods, insecurities, and limited perspectives. They don't see the whole of you. They can't, and they were never meant to. Imagine you're excited about a project, and someone, maybe a colleague, a friend, even a stranger, says something that cuts deep. Not helpful, not kind, just hurtful. Now, pause. In that moment, you have two choices. You can absorb their words and let them become your truth, or you can recognize that their words are just noise, echoes of their reality, not yours. This isn't about ignoring feedback. Constructive feedback is valuable. It helps us grow. But there's a vast difference between a mirror and a weapon. One reflects, the other wounds. And learning to tell the difference is one of the greatest acts of self-respect you can offer yourself. There's a powerful reminder from Marcus Aurelius that says, "We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." Let that sink in. How often have you handed someone else a pen and let them rewrite your story? It's time to take that pen back. Here's a simple framework to reclaim your power when someone's words threaten your peace. 1. Pause before reacting. Don't let pain speak for you. Let clarity step in. That one breath creates a boundary between you and the chaos. 2. Separate fact from opinion. Ask yourself, is what they're saying true? Or is it just their perspective? Most of the time, you'll find it's just noise. 3. Reaffirm your worth. Say it to yourself if you have to. Their words don't define me. My values, my actions, and how I treat others, that's who I am. When you do this, something amazing happens. You stop shrinking to fit someone else's limited perception. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You start living for you, not for their approval, not for their applause. Think of it this way. Someone once told you that you're too much, too loud, too sensitive, too ambitious, but that's not a reflection of your flaws. It's a reflection of their comfort zone. And you were never meant to fit inside their box anyway. Let me leave you with this. Care about what people think, and you'll be their prisoner. But care about who you are when no one's watching. That's freedom. So the next time someone's words cut deep, pause and ask yourself, am I really going to let this moment define me? Or will you stand in your truth, in your quiet strength, and walk forward anyway? You don't owe anyone your insecurity. You don't owe them your silence, your rage, or your energy. You owe yourself one thing only, the unwavering belief that your worth is non-negotiable. And when you believe that, truly believe that, nothing anyone says can touch the core of who you are. That's not arrogance. That's self-respect. That's inner peace. Part 5. Protect your energy by setting boundaries. Let's talk about something we all struggle with, but don't talk about nearly enough. Boundaries. Not just the, I'm busy, kind. Not just the, I'll get back to you later, kind. I'm talking about the kind of boundaries that protect your peace, your sanity, your soul. Because here's a truth that might feel uncomfortable at first. If you don't set boundaries, life will set them for you, and not in your favor. Picture this. You're juggling a million things, work deadlines, personal goals, trying to just breathe, and someone calls you, needing something, again. Or maybe your coworker assumes you'll take on another task because, well, you always say yes, and you feel that tug, that guilt, that obligation, but also, that exhaustion. It's a familiar war inside, wanting to be kind, but not wanting to be depleted. And here's where the game changes. Saying no doesn't make you selfish. It makes you wise. You've probably heard the phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup. But let's take that further. You're not a cup. You're the source, the stream. And if you let every hand reach in and take without limits, you dry out, you stop flowing, you lose your vitality. Boundaries are not walls. They're filters. They don't block love, they protect it. They don't isolate you, they preserve you. Let's be clear. People aren't villains for asking. But you become your own enemy when you keep saying yes at the cost of your peace. No one can know your limits unless you make them known. And no one will respect them unless you enforce them. Let me give you a real-world example. You're the go-to friend, the late-night therapist, the emotional dump zone. And while you love being there for people, lately, it's wearing you down. Instead of growing resentful in silence, imagine saying, hey, I care deeply about you, but I need my evenings to recharge. Can we talk tomorrow? That one sentence, that one boundary, honors both them and you. Here's the thing. We teach people how to treat us. Every time you tolerate the late calls, the last-minute asks, the passive-aggressive jabs, you're silently saying, this is okay, but what if you said, no, that's too much for me right now? What if you said, I can't take that on today? What if you just said, nothing at all, and chose your own peace over their expectations? Let me offer you 3 ways to start protecting your energy today. 1. Be clear and kind. You don't need long explanations. I'm not available for that today is a full sentence. Clarity is kindness, to both them and yourself. 2. Use I statements. Focus on your needs without blaming the other person. Say, I need quiet after work, instead of, you always bother me. 3. Stick to your limits. The first time someone pushes back on your boundary is the most important time to stand firm. Consistency creates trust and respect. And remember, your energy is currency. Every time you spend it on something that drains you, you're saying no to something that could have uplifted you. You don't owe everyone your time. You don't owe them access to your emotional bandwidth. You owe them honesty. You owe yourself protection. Boundaries don't push people away. They draw the right people closer. The ones who respect your limits, who understand your No isn't rejection, it's self-respect. And here's what's wild: when you start setting boundaries, your anxiety lessens, your sleep improves, your clarity sharpens. You stop walking around half present, half burned out. You start showing up fully, for yourself and others. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed, drained, or resentful, ask yourself, have I been honoring my boundaries or betraying them? And then give yourself permission, real permission, to choose peace. Because when you protect your energy, you protect the very thing that allows you to give from a full heart. Not out of guilt, not out of fear, but out of abundance. Part 6. Detach from the opinions of others. Let's get right to it. You will never be free until you stop living for the approval of others. That may sound harsh, but it's the kind of truth that shakes you awake. Because for so many of us, without even realizing it, we spend our lives editing ourselves. We shrink, we adjust, we silence, all in the name of being accepted, all in fear of being judged. But here's what you have to know: you were not put on this earth to live inside someone else's opinion of you. Imagine this: you share something you're proud of, a new idea, a dream, even just a bold outfit you love. But instead of encouragement, you're met with blank stares, a sarcastic comment, a passive-aggressive chuckle, and suddenly, the joy you had begins to erode. You question yourself: was I too much? Was I wrong? Should I have said less? Been less? That's the trap. Because the moment you hand your identity to someone else's reaction, you lose your center. You drift from your own voice and begin to orbit around theirs. Here's the shift: what people think of you is none of your business. Seriously, it's their lens, their projection, their filter, and often their own insecurities speaking, not truth. And when you internalize that noise, you build your self-worth on sand. Think of it like this: if someone called the sky purple, would you believe them? No, because you know better. So why believe someone who says you're not good enough, not capable enough, not worthy? Their words don't change reality. Your knowing does. Here's what happens when you start detaching from other people's opinions. You stop chasing validation, you stop over-explaining your choices, you stop fearing disapproval like it's a death sentence, and most importantly, you start living on your own terms. This isn't about arrogance, it's about alignment. You're not ignoring everyone, you're filtering. You're discerning who gets access to your energy, who gets to speak into your life, and who simply doesn't hold that kind of weight anymore. Here's a practical shift you can start today. 1. Question the weight. When someone's opinion bothers you, ask yourself, why does their voice matter so much? Have they earned that place in my life? Most of the time, you'll realize they haven't. 2. Reaffirm your truth. Go back to your why, your values, your journey. Say it to yourself: I'm not here to be understood by everyone, I'm here to be true to myself. 3. Practice emotional detachment. Picture their opinion as a leaf floating down a stream. It passes by. It doesn't need to stay. You don't need to chase it, hold it, or make it mean something it doesn't. There's a quote from Epictetus that says, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Let that sink in. Because growth, real growth, often looks strange to those who are standing still. You might be judged, misunderstood, mocked, but if you're living in alignment with your truth, your vision, your purpose, that judgment holds no power. Their opinion is not your prison, unless you decide to sit in the cell. And I'll tell you this: some of the greatest peace you'll ever know comes the moment you stop performing. The moment you stop adjusting your shine to make others comfortable in their shadow. The moment you decide that your self-respect is more important than someone else's approval. So the next time someone's words shake your confidence, pause and ask, am I living for them, or for me? And then walk boldly in your answer. You were not made to fit into every room. You were made to stand tall in the one that aligns with your purpose. Their opinions are passing clouds. You are the sky, unchanging, expansive, free. Part 7. Respond with silence, not anger. There's a moment we've all faced, that second when someone says something so unfair, so insulting, so intentionally hurtful, and your body reacts before your mind catches up. Your pulse quickens, your fists tighten, your throat heats up with a comeback that's just waiting to be fired. But what if I told you, your silence could be louder than any words you ever speak? We live in a world where we're conditioned to clap back, to defend, to fight fire with fire. But here's what no one teaches you: true power is calm. And sometimes, the most powerful move you can make is to say absolutely nothing. Imagine this: you're in a heated conversation. Someone throws shade, takes a cheap shot, tries to get a rise out of you. Every part of you wants to react, to prove a point, to not let them win. But you stop, you breathe, and instead of engaging in the chaos, you respond with silence. That silence? That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Because here's the truth: not every insult deserves your attention. Not every provocation deserves your energy. And not every fight is worth stepping into, especially when your peace is on the line. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best answer to anger is silence." And that couldn't be more true. Anger is like a wildfire. The moment you feed it with more words, it spreads, it grows. But silence? Silence starves it. It diffuses the drama. It takes you out of the emotional spiral and places you above the noise. You don't need to prove anything to anyone who's trying to provoke you. You don't need to win every battle just because someone challenged you. Sometimes, the win is walking away with your dignity intact and your spirit untouched. Here's how you start making silence your superpower. 1. Pause before reacting. When someone pushes your buttons, create space. That pause is a sacred moment. It's the difference between a regret and a lesson. 2. Listen without defending. Sometimes, people just want to vent their own frustrations. Let them. Their rant doesn't need a rebuttal. Your piece doesn't need to attend every argument you're invited to. 3. Speak only when it improves the silence. If what you're about to say won't bring clarity, kindness, or calm, don't say it. You are under no obligation to respond just because someone else is yelling. Silence is not avoidance. It's strategy. It's the ability to choose your timing, your tone, your message. It's refusing to let someone else dictate your emotional state. And you'll notice something profound. The more you practice this, the less reactive you become. You stop taking things personally. You stop needing to clap back. You stop carrying the weight of someone else's chaos. Instead, you carry peace. You carry strength. You carry clarity. Let me be clear. This doesn't mean you never speak up. It means you choose when and how to speak, so your words land like a calm breeze, not a violent storm. Because sometimes, silence is louder than rage. It says, "I won't play this game." It says, "You don't have access to my energy." It says, "I have nothing to prove, and everything to protect." So the next time someone tries to pull you into a war of words, pause, breathe, and remind yourself, this is not my fire to feed. Then step back, watch the storm rage on without you, and feel the unmatched peace of knowing you rose above it, not by shouting louder, but by staying still, because in that stillness, you win. Part 8. Practice gratitude to dissolve anger. Let's be real, some days just fall apart. Your plans get cancelled, someone's rude for no reason. That email you were waiting for never comes. Traffic makes you late, you spill coffee on your shirt, and suddenly, a quiet frustration builds. That simmering, slow burn anger begins to creep into your tone, your thoughts, your body. But what if I told you that in that exact moment, you could press reset? Not by fixing everything, not by controlling others, but by turning to something so simple, so powerful, that it actually changes your chemistry: gratitude. Yes, gratitude. It's not a cliche. It's not just a feel-good word people throw around in self-help books. It's a tool, a real, neurological pattern interrupt that can transform how you experience your worst moments. Because here's a universal truth. You cannot feel anger and gratitude at the same time. Your brain has to choose. And when you choose gratitude, anger loses its grip. Imagine this. You're stuck in traffic, already late, and someone cuts you off. Instantly, your hand tightens on the wheel. You mutter something under your breath. You feel the tension rising. Now pause. Instead of feeding the spiral, take one deep breath and ask yourself, what can I be thankful for right now? Maybe it's the fact that you have a car. Maybe it's the music playing. Maybe it's that you're safe, breathing, alive. It might sound small, but those little shifts change everything. Gratitude doesn't erase problems, it reframes them. It reminds you that not everything is going wrong, that you're still standing, that you still have something, anything, to hold on to. The ancient philosopher Cicero said, "Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all the others." And he was right, because when you're rooted in gratitude, you become more patient, more resilient, more compassionate, not just to others, but to yourself. So how do you build a gratitude habit strong enough to dissolve anger? 1. Pause and reflect. When you feel irritation rising, don't deny it. Just pause. Ask yourself, is there something in this moment I can be thankful for, even if it's small? That breath is the beginning of your shift. 2. Keep a gratitude journal. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big. Sometimes, "I had a great cup of tea," or "my friend checked in," is enough to shift your baseline toward positivity. 3. Use gratitude as a reframe. When something negative happens, ask yourself, what can this teach me? What did I still gain? Despite the setback? That doesn't make the pain fake, it makes it purposeful. Let me share a moment with you. I once had a close friend criticize my work in a way that felt sharp, unkind. My first instinct was anger. I replayed it in my mind. I started creating imaginary comebacks. But then, I caught myself. I paused and whispered, "I'm grateful I care enough to be affected. I'm grateful I have people who see me enough to be honest, even imperfectly." And just like that, the fire dimmed, not gone, but no longer in control. Gratitude doesn't silence anger by force. It softens it with perspective. It says, yes, that hurt, but look what still remains. Here's what you begin to realize when you live from this place. Anger isn't always wrong, it's just not always useful. And you get to choose whether it defines your day, or whether you replace it with appreciation for what still is. Next time someone pushes your buttons or life throws you a curveball, stop and ask yourself this simple question. What's still good in this moment? Because even in chaos, there is beauty. Even in disappointment, there is growth. And even in the shadow of anger, gratitude can be the light that brings you back to peace. Part 9. Reframe criticism as a tool for growth. Let's be honest, criticism hurts. Whether it comes as a sharp comment from someone close, or a passing remark from someone who barely knows you, it stings, especially when you've put your heart into something, especially when you've tried your best. It feels personal, it feels like rejection, and instinctively, your defenses rise. You want to push back, explain, or shut down altogether. But what if you didn't? What if, instead of seeing criticism as an attack, you saw it as an opportunity, a mirror, not of your flaws, but of your potential? Here's a powerful truth. Criticism is one of the greatest teachers life offers, if you're brave enough to listen. Because sometimes, what feels like judgment is actually a nudge, a chance to refine, improve, and grow stronger than you were yesterday. Let me paint the picture. You present an idea at work. You're proud, you're clear, but your colleague points out a few issues, maybe a little too bluntly. Your chest tightens, your mind races. Are they trying to undermine me? Was that necessary? And maybe it wasn't delivered with grace, but beneath the tone, there's feedback, something useful, something that could make your work even better. This is where emotional maturity steps in. You separate the delivery from the message. You filter what's helpful from what's hurtful. And you ask the most empowering question of all. Is there something in this that I can use to become better? Criticism doesn't always come gift-wrapped. Sometimes it arrives clumsily. Sometimes it's coated in someone else's stress, ego, or insecurities. But your job isn't to swallow everything, it's to sort through it. To take what serves you and leave the rest. Here's a 3-step approach to reframing criticism as growth. 1. Pause before reacting. When criticism lands, don't defend, don't argue, just breathe. That pause gives you the power to choose curiosity over combat. 2. Evaluate the source. Ask yourself, does this person have insight I can learn from? Are they coming from a place of care or just projecting their own stuff? Not all voices deserve equal volume. 3. Find the lesson. Even harsh or poorly delivered feedback may contain a truth, a blind spot, a hidden strength that just needs shaping. Let me give you a personal example. Years ago, I shared a creative project online, and someone commented, "This feels rushed and shallow." I could have lashed out. Instead, I sat with it, reread it, and painfully, I saw something. They were right, not in their tone, but in their point. I had rushed. I hadn't gone deep enough. That moment, though humbling, made my next work better, stronger, clearer, truer. Not all criticism deserves space in your mind. Some people criticize out of envy. Some just like the sound of their own voice. But when you treat every critique as a potential tool, not a sentence, you unlock one of the highest forms of emotional freedom. Epictetus once said, "If someone speaks ill of you, instead of defending yourself, say, 'They obviously don't know the rest of my faults.' Or they'd have said more." That's not sarcasm, it's wisdom. It's the understanding that no one's words can truly harm you unless you let them dig deeper than they deserve. Here's the truth. Your growth is more important than your pride. And if you can trade the need to be perfect for the courage to evolve, you become unstoppable. So the next time criticism comes your way, don't flinch, don't armor up, listen with presence, filter with discernment, grow with grace. Because the strongest people aren't the ones who never get criticized, they're the ones who know how to turn it into fuel, into fire, into transformation. And that's what this journey is about. Not perfection, not approval, but becoming the kind of person who rises, not in spite of the feedback, but because of how you respond to it. Part 10. Master the art of letting go. There's a powerful image I want you to hold in your mind. Imagine clutching a burning coal in your bare hand. You grip it tightly, ready to throw it at the person who hurt you. But while you wait for your chance, that coal scorches your skin, burns through your peace, and wounds you far more than it ever will them. That is what holding on to anger looks like. It's a slow, silent poison. It tells you that clinging to the pain keeps you strong. That staying angry gives you power. That if you let go, somehow they win. But here's the truth that will set you free. Letting go is not weakness. Letting go is strength in its most evolved form. We all carry things, old grudges, broken friendships, betrayals that echo in our memories, moments that left scars, and we think, if I let this go, I'm saying what they did was okay. No, you're saying that your peace matters more than their mistake. You're saying that your future is more important than your past. You're saying that you deserve to move forward unburdened. Because the reality is, you're not just holding the hurt, you're letting it hold you. Think of how many hours you've spent replaying what someone said. How many nights you've lost sleep over what you wish you'd said back. How much energy you've given to people who aren't even in your life anymore. That's the cost of carrying what should have been released. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean what happened didn't matter. It means it no longer controls you. It no longer writes your narrative. You reclaim authorship over your story. So how do you begin to master the art of letting go? 1. Acknowledge the emotion. Don't bury it. Don't fake forgiveness. Sit with it. Feel the anger, the sadness, the disappointment. Let it surface. Because what we refuse to feel, we are doomed to carry. 2. Reframe the pain. Ask yourself, what did I learn? How did I grow? What strength did I gain because of this? Sometimes the worst chapters teach the deepest truths. 3. Shift your focus to the present. Bitterness lives in the past. Fear lives in the future. But peace? Peace is always now. Letting go brings you back to this moment, where your power lives. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Do not be disturbed by what is outside your control. Let it go, and you will find peace. That's not just philosophy, that's survival. That's healing. That's the daily choice to rise above what you cannot change and embrace what you can. And let's not confuse letting go with apathy. It's not saying you don't care. It's saying you care about yourself enough to stop suffering. It's refusing to be tethered to the behavior of people who didn't know how to love, respect, or see you fully. Sometimes, we hold on because we think we're waiting for closure, for an apology, for them to understand. But the truth is, closure isn't something they give you. It's something you decide. You close the chapter. You turn the page. You write the next line. Letting go is the act of choosing peace over pride, healing over haunting, growth over grudges. So ask yourself, what am I still holding that no longer serves me? What pain am I replaying that deserves to rest? Now imagine yourself opening your hand, releasing the coal. Feel the weight drop. Feel the space that opens up. That's the beginning of freedom. Because in the end, letting go doesn't just change how you feel, it changes who you are. It transforms you into someone lighter, stronger, wiser, someone who no longer lives in reaction to what hurt them, but in response to what's possible. And that is emotional mastery. That is unshakable peace. And there you have it, 10 powerful lessons to help you rise above the noise. Reclaim your energy, and protect your peace no matter what life throws your way. These aren't just ideas, they are daily practices, quiet revolutions. Each one is a decision, a moment where you choose calm over chaos, wisdom over reaction, freedom over fear. Remember, emotional mastery doesn't mean you never feel. It means you feel without falling apart. You respond without regret, and you live with a kind of strength that the world can't shake. So take what resonated with you. Practice one shift at a time. And keep showing up for yourself, even on the days it feels hard. If this podcast gave you clarity, strength, or even a breath of peace, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Someone out there might be silently struggling, just waiting for a reminder like this. Thank you for walking this path with me. You are more powerful, more grounded, and more whole than you think. Until next time, take care of your heart, guard your peace, and stay unbothered.